the first X-Files, when UFOs were sighted appearing over World War I battlefields. Did the Red Baron actually shoot down a flying saucer, or did angels, quote unquote, save the men of British troops on the battlefields during World War I? Edited by Elias Siantounis. Such questions must be answered by a group of British intelligence officers who will investigate the strange sightings in the sky during the First World War. Most of us believe that UFOs are mysterious sightings in the sky and are modern phenomena, but sightings of unidentified objects have been occurring since ancient times, sometimes in clusters and sometimes individually. During the early years of the 20th century, we had a flurry of sightings that caused public panic as they regularly appeared in newspapers, culminating in World War I, where a more scientific approach is necessary. Nigel Watson, author of the book UFOs of the First World War, says, "The book can be regarded as the first official guide to the study of UFOs long before the CIA or any other organization became interested in this subject." During the First World War, there were many reports of mysterious lights and objects moving in the skies. These were studied by the Assistant Director of Military Aeronautics, Lieutenant Colonel W.S. Banker, and Lieutenant Colonel Kell of the then Secret Service, predecessor of MI5. Banker and Kell can be seen as the first Mulder and Scullys to study UFO reports that came into their office, says Nigel Watson. The lights in the sky? One of the incidents came in a telegram to Banker and Kell's office in 1914 from the Lancashire commander saying, "Large red light seen at 8:45 p.m. today, passing over a bridge at Arcs. Soon after, an explosion was heard in the districts of Widnes and Rancorn. Guidelines set by the War Office help officers categorize sightings as natural in origin or something more mysterious," end quote. Flying saucers? Various UFO myths have circulated about the First World War, the most surprising and improbable of which is that the German ace pilot, the Red Baron, shot down a UFO. Fellow pilots of the Red Baron claimed after war that Baron Manfred von Richthofen shot down a saucer-type flying craft, from which the two diminutive occupants escaped. Well, there you go. Now, German pilot Peter Waitstrick stated that he and his colleagues saw an aircraft like an upside-down saucer. He said, "We were terrified because we had never seen anything like this before. The Baron immediately opened fire and the object fell and crashed into the forest," he said. The story is admittedly extremely dubious, however, given that Waitstrick told the story not immediately after the war, but 80 years after the event, to U.S. newspaper The Weekly World News. The missing soldiers? Many UFO enthusiasts claim that aliens have abducted soldiers from the battlefields of World War II. Something like this also happened in World War I, when hundreds of men disappeared in a cloud during the Gallipoli campaign. Witnesses claim to have seen British soldiers advancing towards Hill 60 in the Sulva Bay area of Turkey on August 21, 1915, when they were immediately grabbed by a cloud. A statement from an alleged eyewitness published in 1965 said, "When they reached this cloud, they marched straight into it without hesitation, but no one ever came out to fight after that. About an hour later, this cloud very subtly rose from the ground, reaching the other clouds in the sky, and moved northward." The story seems false. Documents released after the armistice show that 180 soldiers were found behind enemy lines and are probably the ones who disappeared, so the cloud story is a myth. Angels of the Mons? In the bloody and particularly disastrous for the British, the Battle of the Mons was one of the first in which the British faced the Germans, and despite the retreat, only 1,600 lives were lost. There were reports of angel-like luminous entities stopping the Germans during the retreat of the British, resulting in thousands being saved. Decades later, the debate still rages, with the incident making headlines. The popular author Arthur Machen claims that this myth originated from an article of his entitled The Bowman, published in the evening newspaper September 29, 1914. In the article, he referred to the Battle of the Mons, specifically to the efforts of a group of his soldiers who, while fighting desperately against the overwhelming German attacks, one of them invoked the spirit of St. George. He saw before him, beyond the ditch, a series of figures surrounded by a glow. They were like men who drew their bows, and with one shout, a cloud of arrows flew whistling through the air towards the German positions. Nigel Watson, author of UFOs in World War I, said, even today, the story is controversial. Theories about the phenomenon range from it being a myth based on the Machen story, a product of hallucinations due to the stress and exhaustion of the soldiers, actual intervention by angels, visitations, ghosts, hallucinations from natural gas in the area swamps, UFOs, and other. This I've translated from a Greek article. Please leave your comments, and thank you for your support. Kindly support my Patreon account. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support, and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below.